கவலை இல்லாம கலர் பிரிண்ட் பண்ணுங்க, அதுவும் மிக குறைஞ்ச விலையில. எப்சன் ஈகோ டேங்க் பிரிண்டர்ஸ். இது வெறும் ஃபேபுலஸ் இல்ல, இது டோட்டலி பிரிண்டபிளஸ்.
Entrusted with much of the coastal security, sir, was operating barely half its required strength. Only 65% of the needed patrol vessels were with them, and 48% of the required aircrafts were in service. So that is the kind of lacunae that we faced. We don't want that situation. We should be able to provide for our defense far more efficiently and steadily. So I'll go over to talking particular members and their concerns. Sir D. Prasad Rao, Shri Supriya Sule, and also Srimati Supriya, thank you. Srimati Supriya Sule, and also Dr. Prabha Mallikarjun, I can't find her here, but all of them had raised this issue, saying there is no detail about the schemes for which the cess will be levied. I think many others have also spoken in similar vein. And also that there is no clarity on the distribution of the cess amongst two objectives, which are stated. I want to clarify, sir. Section 7(1) of the bill makes it very clear that the proceeds of the cess are to be used only for two purposes: strengthening India's national security and supporting public health. This actually creates a complete ring fence for a framework, and that will actually be implemented for these two. By providing that the central government will specifically prescribe these activities, schemes, and programs, whether in the area of national security or public health, for which the cess is being utilized. I want to underline the fact that how funds are going to be allocated across objectives will be laid out through the rules about which Supriya ji specifically had a question. I will explain that. Even before I do that, several members again, Dr. Sumati, who's here, Dr. Alok Kumar Suman, and even Honorable Member Supriya Sule had raised this issue. Does the center have the right to even impose cess? Where does it come from? Sir, the constitutional power of levying a cess rests entirely in Article 270, which authorizes the Parliament, not the government of the day, Parliament, to levy a cess for a specific purpose. Entry 97 of List 1, the residual entry empowers Parliament to legislate on matters and taxes mentioned elsewhere. Now, taking it further, I mean, this power that center can levy through the Parliament a cess has been reinforced by the Supreme Court in one of the judgments passed in 2019, Mohit Minerals case. But then the finer point was also further raised, saying, but you're going to say it all through notification. Will there be a CAG? Because this money will go into the public fund, into the consolidated fund. So what happens? Sir, I must humbly submit that a notification in order to levy a certain cess, the rate particularly, the notification is tabled in the Parliament. When the Parliament is in session, we come and say it. When it is not in session, it is laid there. For 30 days, it waits for the members of Parliament to look at it and then raise any objections or questions or not speak about it. Nothing goes beyond the Parliament on this. And I was surprised to hear, will the CAG audit or not? Nothing can happen without the CAG looking at the financial matters. cess that is levied through a notification, the rate is mentioned, approval of Parliament is taken through this act. The notification comes out separately, but it comes to the Parliament. It gets laid here. And there are Parliamentary Standing Committee, Finance, the PAC, everything exists. So where is this fear that CAG will not be looking into it? CAG also produces its report. Yes, I've heard members say it. So please, utilization from the Consolidated Fund of India is subject to the highest level of oversight under the Constitution, through the Parliament, through the CAG, through the PAC, through the estimates, through the internal audits. So nothing escapes from this Parliament when question of the cess happens. So I want members to be assured on that. There shouldn't be any doubts in the minds of any member about, oh, this is a cess, it's a private domain of the government. No way. It's a complete domain of the Parliament, and I'm answerable here to pass it, get one rate, and within that, notify it. All expenditures from the CFI, not only collection, all expenditures are also subject to the CAG. So, sir, then I'll move to Dr. Alok Kumar Suman, again, Dr. Prabha Mallikarjun, and D. Prasad Rao, who said the structure and certain provisions like fixed cess, a cess on production capacity, rather than actual production, may open up a Pandora's box and be detrimental to the sector. So the sector is highly evasion prone. Highly evasion prone sector. It's already at the consumption level being taxed by the GST at the highest rate. But that highest rate is not good enough. It's 40% and GST has a cap. No item can be taxed beyond 40. That is one thing. The other is what is being produced is far higher than what comes out, or capacities exist, whether they come out or not. That's where the question of evasion prone sector. And therefore, we didn't come out with production capacity as a newer parameter based on which the cess can be levied. Even the central excise tax, the duty gets levied, central excise, on production capacity. It's been existing for a very long time. Excise law in this country is old. Since 1940, 41, 43, 44. So the capacity-based taxation is not new. Courts have also recognized that this is an evasion-prone area. Machine-driven sectors such as chewing tobacco, pan masala, actual production was difficult to measure, and therefore a capacity-linked levy was an administratively sound and legally valid method for collecting duty has been established even in the courts. So this machine-based duty is not new, but rather an established mechanism previously applied for tobacco and pan masala sector also. So then Dr. Sumati had raised this issue that the situation under which tax can be doubled needs to be clarified upfront, and the provision mandating no requirement to come to the Parliament seems arbitrary. No requirement to come to the Parliament does not exist, ma'am. We have to come to the Parliament. We have to lay the notification. Sorry? अरे रे भैया, पहले आपसे परमिशन लेते हैं सेस का एप्लीकेशन के लिए, फिर रेट तय करने के समय नोटिफिकेशन होता है, वो नोटिफिकेशन भी इधर आता है भाई. So sorry, I'm sorry to my Hindi is very lay. भाई साहब ऐसे होता है, I didn't say that, but sorry. डांट नहीं रहे हो, नहीं डांट नहीं रहे हो. मेरा हिंदी का कमजोरी ऐसे नहीं होते भाई. मैंने कह दिया, फिर मैं सोचने लगी, वो probably is not Maryada language, so all right, no, that's okay. So the power to double the tax rate is only for emergency, doubling, and accordingly the provision has been incorporated in the Act for prior sanction of the Parliament. Prior sanction of the Parliament. Similar powers exist in other taxation laws also. And what we're doing now is nothing new or nothing unique. And moreover, this section mandates that we can do it only doing it just for some frivolous reason. So again, Dr. Prabha Mallikarjuna and Supriya Suleji and Prasad Rao from TDP. So the power to add new goods to the schedule without requiring to come to the Parliament seems arbitrary and appears to be undermining the parliamentary processes. So we are seeking the approval of the Parliament for notifying more goods to the schedule. That's the power which we are seeking. And this will be done through notification. Again, the notification comes, places itself, we place it in the Parliament, and the members are given at least 30 days to have a look at it, and so on. Now, what are these goods? Now, what are these goods which will be added in the future, if at all? For example, sir, pan masala that is currently covered is the one with tariff classification 2106-9020. That's the HSN code number for pan masala. There may be many different variants which may come up in the future due to ingenuity of the industry. This should also be brought within the ambit of the levy. This would be notified by the central government without the requirement of coming to Parliament every time, each time. We notify that this seems to be very close to this 2106-9020. And therefore, this also should be covered under the cess, the intent of which is already mentioned. It's a demerit good. It's a demerit good. I can't bring, let's say, shampoo into this. I can't bring besan or atta into this. Demerit good, which has probably some semblance with pan masala, or it is a pan masala becomes evolved, it becomes something else. There is a metamorphosis. From the beginning, the objective itself says it's only on demerit, sir, on pan masala. You want the word demerit put onto it. So this would be notified by the central government without requirement of coming to the Parliament, sir. So that is one thing which I want to explain, even as I'm responding to Dr. Prasad Rao. So metamorphosis is a product of ingenuity. Today what appears like pan masala, tomorrow can appear differently and named differently, but am I not going to be able to collect tax on it? I need to. So this issue of demerit, the statement of objects and reasons makes it clear that the proposed cess is carefully confined to the production capacity of specific demerit good, namely pan masala. The intent is unambiguous. The cess is limited to demerit goods such as pan masala and is being applied only where there is a clear fiscal space to do so. All right. All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thanks. I've been explaining a lot of... I've heard you. Would you want to listen to me, please, for a minute? I've heard you. And in fact, sir, like the way you responded when you were talking as I came in, for every issue that you've raised, even on the previous, because you mentioned the previous I have responded. And even now, on this bill, I'm sorry to say, you have misled the House, and I'm answering. There is absolutely no intention to step into the domain of GST taxation, sir, which remains exclusively with the GST Council. The design of the levy fully respects the constitutional scheme while enabling the government to mobilize resources for priority national objectives. Dr. Alok Kumar, I'm not sure if he's here. Can the cess be imposed on advertising of specified goods? Was a question that he raised. Advertising is a service and is subject to the GST. Already it is subjected to GST. There is no proposal to include advertising in this cess. How will there be a reduction in the consumption of the commodity? Again, Dr. Prabha Mallikarjun. So once the GST compensation cess comes to an end, the effective tax incidence on pan masala, which is currently about 88%, which is 28% of the GST and 60% compensation cess, the 60% compensation cess will come to an end. 28% GST does not exist. So it will have to move to 40%, which is the tax for demerit goods. So it goes for 40. So from 88%, it will come down to 40%. So it falls down sharply. The GST Council approved the proposal to increase the GST rate to 40, which will be effective on a date in the future, near future, once the compensation cess gets over. If the tax incidence comes down, it will have unintended consequences of making pan masala considerably more affordable. We can't afford to leave it there. So there was a genuine concern that this unintended outcome of greater affordability of pan masala, which is highly addictive, low-cost demerit good, would not only compromise public health objectives, but also result in loss of government revenue. So we have a fiscal space, and therefore we can't allow it to become cheaper and yet lose revenue. We wanted it not to be cheaper, but also make sure the revenue space is filled. So the name of the cess was a matter which was also raised. Are the pan masala consumers going to finance their national defense? Was a question raised. It's neither in the design nor in the intent. As I said, tax can be collected, it will be used, money is fungible. So there was also this observation, which I think is very important and for which I will respond. Sweeping discretionary powers, like inspection and abatement to be done by officers, have been provided. This will increase Inspector Raj. Was a very legitimate question many honorable members had. I want to respond, sir. Pan masala has been long one of the most evasion-prone sectors. Even genuine manufacturers repeatedly express concern about spurious, illegitimate supplies that distort the market. In such a situation, it becomes essential to equip the administration with adequate tools so that fair and uniform standard of compliance is maintained across the sectors. So this protects revenue and also ensures a level playing field. So let me expand on how this is going to work. Machine capacity-based system will be implemented through a modern, technology-enabled and non-intrusive oversight mechanism. It will focus on transparency, objective parameters, minimal disruption to manufacturing activity, and so on. So there are three clear layers. First, it will be on a self-declaration. The manufacturer himself or herself says what is the capacity and speed at which their machine is running. They will also be allowed that if they need to change anything in the first declaration that they give, they will be in a position to change any addition or correction that they have to do. It is at that stage, it will be very quickly verified if their statements are all tallying and everything else. The second stage would be technology supported and a continuous oversight. And the third stage would be risk-based enforcement checks. So after the initial verification, the system moves away from physical supervision towards technology-driven monitoring, using tools such as the CCTV coverage, tamper-proof sealing, and other automated safeguards. Further, to strengthen automation and reduce discretion even further, the design also anticipates phased adoption of motion sensors and integration with BIS. So beyond this, there are also elaborate appellate provisions with judicial oversight enshrined in the proposed legislation, where the original orders can be first reviewed or revised, and then appeals would lie with the appellate authority, and then the appellate tribunal, and then finally to the High Court, and if necessary, to the Supreme Court. So every layer of appeal is respected, and no denial of natural justice is even thought through. Sir, all these proposed levies are after a detailed study of the entire manufacturing process, because there were concerns voiced by many members saying a fixed levy on machine, irrespective of the produced quantity, will be detrimental for the small manufacturers. I want to address that concern of members about the small manufacturers. We did a detailed study in the ground, sir. The levy is designed based on the machine capacity, taking into account the speed of production and the weight of the individual packing that is produced by the said machine. Therefore, each owner of the machine will be charged based on the size and quality of the machine. However, first of all, in the GST itself, small units come under composition, so they don't have taxes levied on them if they're below a certain number. We have a progressive structure here. So we clearly, if I were to take an example, a machine producing up to 500 pouches per minute, with each pouch having a certain grammage, they will have to pay a certain amount. So like that graded fashion, we have assessed each of the machine and their speed and the total grammage that will go into each of the pouches, and then decided on the tax. But however, I need to underline the fact there is a separate category for manual processing. So the small units come under it. What special steps have we taken for those taxpayers who are into manual production? I'll just take a minute to explain that, sir. Based on a detailed study of the sector, the amount of cess for a unit which is engaged in wholly manually processed pan masala, handmade, has to be kept at 11 lakh rupees per factory. This is only 10% of the lowest cess amount applicable on the machine-based process. So the wholly man-made items are being given a very concessional treatment so that they are not affected. Although we are not encouraging people to shift into manual process and still be producing pan masala. So there is an element of deterrent. This will ensure that a unit engaged in handmade processes is not discouraged, but at the same time, they shall not be incentivized. So final bit, which is very important, on the cess collection till now. You're bringing one more cess. What happens to the cess that were collected earlier? Did you distribute it? You're sitting with a lot of collected cess, which is not given. I'll give you details. So cesses are not new, first of all. Article 270, I said, gives the union the power to levy cesses. But cess is always collected for a specific purpose. Normally, cesses are not devolved to the states, but in this one, I clearly have said there will be a portion of it being spent on public health. And since public health is a state subject, the money will go to the states. Pre-2014 cesses, sir, just to set the context, there were at least 4 cesses collected during pre-2014. So it's not as if 2014 we came into power, Prime Minister Modi thought, don't give money to the states, collect cess. No, cesses existed even before. Cess on crude oil had been imposed under the Oil Industry Development Act 1974. 70s. Oil Industry Development Fund was not created until 23-24. So the Government of India created Oil Industry Development Fund and an amount of 17,730 crore and 19,376.03 crores was provided for transfer to the OIDF in RE 24-25 and BE 25-26. National Calamity Contingent Duty. This has been levied from 2001, and this is for financing disaster-related expenditure. I don't have the total which was collected at that time. I'm sure we'll be able to gather it and leave it at the table here. The road and infrastructure cess has been levied since the year 2000. This cess has been collected under Central Road Fund, and later that was called Center Road and Infrastructure Fund Act, on imported manufactured motor spirit commonly known as petrol and high-speed diesel. An amount of 11,34,764 crore during 2014-15 to 25-26 has been transferred under the cess, while the collection was only 11,11,692 crore during the same period. Collection is 11,11,000, whereas 11,34,000 has been distributed. Health and education cess, sir, there has been a evolution. Primary education cess since 2004-5. Later on became secondary and higher education cess that was added on the top of existing cess in 2007-8. Merging the above two cesses, new health and education cess, 4% on income tax was introduced in 2018-19. The numbers which are of interest for honorable members, government has transferred an amount of 6,49,459 crores during 2014-15 to 25-26 against a collection of 6,07,573 crores, much more than what was collected. Okay, sir, these are cesses which existed before 2014. Post 2014-15, the cesses, I would like to give you a picture, sir. I'll come to the GST compensation cess a bit later. Agriculture Infrastructure and Development Fund was introduced in 21-22. The government has so far transferred 3,77,214 crores against the collection of 3,87,226 crores. So then, if the feeling is more cesses are being brought now, more cesses are being collected now, less is being given to the states, I want to underline the fact. Cesses as a percentage of GTR, gross tax revenue. Without the compensation cess, why will I not include compensation cess? Because the compensation cess completely went to the state, center couldn't even take 1 penny out of it. So I'm not even including that. Without including that, 6.1% was the cess as a percentage of GTR, gross tax revenue. And that is stated in BE 25-26, this current year budget. This is far lower than the cess, which as a percentage of GTR, if I take 2010 to 14, those years, sir, how much was cess to GTR at that time, 2010 to 14? 7.0%, 7%. Whereas what we are doing now is 6.1. And गाली गलौज हमारे ऊपर, वो कलेक्ट किए 7%, हम कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं 6.1, मगर हाँ सेस कलेक्ट कर रही हो, आप ही रख रही हो. कहां से सर? डेटा तो देखना चाहिए बात करने से पहले. हाँ आ रही हो. सेस के ऊपर आप सब प्रश्न उठाए ना सर. Total collection, OIDF I mentioned, sir. I just want to highlight the fact, OIDF का collection, जी, जब आप खटोर लग रहा है, खड़वा लग रहा है, इसीलिए शॉर्ट कर लीजिए. हाँ जी, शॉर्ट कर लेती हूँ. सामने ही हुआ. सडनली प्राइवेट मेंबर्स बिल के ऊपर इतना ध्यान कैसे आ रहा है जी? क्योंकि डेटा कड़वा है, डेटा कड़वा है. Sir, I just want to add the last one, which I said I have not given the number. NCCD, National Calamity Contingent Fund, which is also a cess. It's a kind of a duty which is collected. How much was collected under it? 68,656 crore. How much was transferred under the NCCD? 72,993 crores. Cess हम भी collect किए, ज़्यादा दिए जी, हम रख नहीं रहे. Final compensation cess collected 9,45,237 crores. पूरे के पूरे स्टेट को जाता है, सेंटर में कुछ भी नहीं रहता. बचा हुआ पैसा भी, how much has been paid to the states? 9,33,920, lesser than 945, 933, because there are 2 states who have not given us the AG certificate yet. Who are they? Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur. If they come, the leftovers compensation cess also will go to them. I will not have 1 penny kept under the compensation cess. Arunachal Pradesh, Mantri ji, aapke state mein batao.
We are blessed with the finance minister. People are not grateful.
So I just want to be highlighting every cess collected has gone back, sir. We have given much more than what we have collected. We have not kept, and so would be the case with this cess also, because we have already said very clearly that it will go for public health considerations. Public health is a state subject. The money will go to the state governments. And please, if honorable members have a doubt about, oh, are we bypassing the parliament? Not at all. The notification will come here for rates, and it is a law which will be clearly scrutinized. The revenue collected, revenue spent, all that will be scrutinized by CAG. Thank you very much.